Hey everyone, Tim Schofield here. And just over a month ago, Samsung unveiled their latest flagship foldable phone, the Galaxy Z Fold 6, out in Paris, and I've had my hands on it for just about that time. Samsung even went live with more promotions on a lot of their devices, including up to $300 instant credit, more trade-in deals, and even discounts on their wearables, their new watch and earbuds. I'll be sure to link to that below, but in this video, it's time to do my full review on the brand new Galaxy Z Fold 6 from Samsung. I want to talk about that updated design, lack of camera updates, and a lot more, maybe even some AI features. Let's get started. For the design, I like the new squared edges. Coupled with that lighter build, it makes it easier to hold with one hand. Plus, it makes that front screen feel a little more natural, a little bit closer to a normal phone. That taller 22.1:9 aspect ratio is still a little bit taller than you'd get out of a regular phone, which still makes typing cramped. It's better, don't get me wrong, but I still do feel cramped when typing. I even went into the keyboard and made it a little taller, which spaced out the keys, which made it a little bit better to type on, but still didn't quite make it feel like a regular phone. Speaking of, I do like the AI features Samsung added to their keyboard. It's nice to prompt for text or even just change the conversation style. One of the first things I noticed when I picked this phone up was how light it was. It's 14 grams lighter than the previous model at 239 grams, and it's a noticeable difference. It gets it, again, even closer to like using a regular phone. Adding the 4 to that IP48 rating adds some dust resistance to that water resistance, and I've noticed less dust particles getting in, and plus, it does sit completely flat and flush when it's folded. It looks really premium. I do really like those just flat sides. It's very uniform. You get the signature Samsung camera design on the back, and I wish they would have added a little color pop to the rings around the camera, similar to the Galaxy Z Flip 6 this year, just based on the color model that you get. One thing I don't like about this design is that when the phone is flat on a table, it's going to rock back and forth because the bump is on one side of the phone. Although that's only an issue when the phone's closed. When it's open, it's not a problem. Let's talk about the crease on the Galaxy Z Fold 6, and I have to say it's still pretty prominent, especially when you compare it to other foldable phones on the market. It still is very noticeable when you feel it, when the light hits it a certain way. I do think Samsung does need to work on minimizing this crease. Although I have noticed when opening and closing this phone, I don't get that screen protector plastic like clicking noise when you open and close the phone. That is, I believe, from the screen protector on top of the actual screen. Now, battery life has been really good for me. I can get through a full day even when I heavily use that inside display. Now, it has the same 4400 milliamp hour battery as the previous model. However, it has a more efficient chipset with that Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 processor. And speaking of, this chipset gives you almost double the NPU performance of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, which means those AI tasks will run faster and more efficiently, and this is going to be useful as more and more AI features come to this device. Software-wise, Samsung has a little bit of a different take than some other manufacturers that make foldables. First of all, your outside display home screen experience is different than your inside display. So you'll see on my outside display, I have this Google Maps widget. However, when I open the phone and go to the second to screen, that widget isn't there because you can completely customize it based on your use cases. On top of that, going into settings, you can customize apps that continue on the front screen after they're opened on the inside screen. And I don't necessarily like this implementation. I wish they would do it just like OnePlus does, where once you have an app open and you close the fold, it will prompt you to swipe up if you want to continue that app, because I don't just always want a specific app to continue on the front screen after I close it. Sometimes I want to just let it be, close it and say, I'm done with that app. And other times I'm like, oh, I want to continue that app on the front screen because I'm on the go. So it does matter, and hopefully Samsung can actually implement that as well. Now, we touched on AI, and it's really interesting how close of a relationship Samsung and Google have, especially Circle the Search was first on a Samsung device. No, not a Google Pixel. Kind of crazy, actually. But I want to commend Google on their priority to Android and the advancements they've made, especially with Gemini. Gemini has actually a lot of use cases and seems very useful. One specific use is Gemini Live, a conversation you can have with very useful back-to-back information. You get system-wide translation on the Z Fold 6, but also generative AI, where it can generate images on top of pictures that you've already taken. Now, for me, I've realized a lot of these AI features have a learning curve to figure out how to make it useful in your day-to-day life, but also I've realized some of these AI functions are just for fun. You can just have a good time adding a cat onto your shoulder and other things. In other ways, AI just isn't quite good enough to make it useful, but it's still fun. In terms of performance, just like other Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 phones I've used, I'm really pleased, especially with that long-term gaming and multitasking. Obviously, with a larger screen, you want to multitask more, and Samsung makes it really easy to do so. Samsung even added a larger vapor chamber cooler in this year's model, and I haven't noticed too much of a difference in terms of thermals. Yes, the phone still gets warm when I'm gaming long-term. It still gets warm when I'm recording video and using the camera outside long-term. However, I haven't noticed it actually throttling my gaming performance or throttling the performance when I'm multitasking. Now, I've sort of held off in talking about the camera, and that's for a good reason. Like I said, the lack of changes. Hardware-wise, it's the same as last year, which was a bit unfortunate to hear. I was hoping they'd at least update one of the sensors. Now, don't get me wrong, this phone still takes really good pictures. However, the Galaxy S24 Ultra still gets the best camera system, even though you're paying such a high price point for the Fold lineup. But again, the photos are still really good. I noticed the software processing got a little bit better. It seems like the dynamic range does a better job in that post-processing. The photos look just a little bit more natural, and I have to say the video stabilization does a really good job, and I really like to take advantage of that slow-mo option. When you're watching a video, just press and hold on it, and then let go, and it will actually prompt you to save a slow-mo clip. It's actually super useful. While the camera system might not be as good as the S24 Ultra, it's way more versatile with that front screen. Taking selfies is just automatically better quality because you get to take advantage of those full lenses and make sure that you're in frame. On top of that, being able to prop up your phone in different situations without a tripod is such a huge bonus. A couple things I want them to update. First of all, it still only has 25 watts of fast charging. It still charges pretty fast, but I'd like to see more and more, especially with competitors including faster charging. And then on top of that, the Galaxy S24 Ultra gets Wi-Fi 7, which, don't get me wrong, not many people do have a Wi-Fi 7 router right now, but still, again, at this price point, you expect at least some similar specs that the Ultra offers. Now, with all of that being said, I really do have to commend Samsung with their promise of 7 years of updates, which is crazy. Really is a full commitment to their devices, especially if you plan on holding on to a phone long term. And to be honest, overall, I'm really pleased with the device. It's fairly iterative in terms of last generation's model, but does offer some meaningful updates while still sacrificing some features that you see in the Galaxy S24 Ultra. And at that price point, I'd like to see them start to trickle down that price for these high-end phones, or even offer a more budget model as well. Now, I do have to say, Samsung definitely offers the best trade-in deals and promotions out of just about any manufacturer. So once you buy a Samsung phone, they really do offer a lot of money to trade in the previous device to upgrade the next year or in 2 years. So that's just a nice perk of going with Samsung. But again, that doesn't necessarily offset the really high price the Z Fold 6 has. All in all, I do think a foldable is just about the perfect form factor, a regular phone and opening it up to a larger screen to consume content. There are still drawbacks with the weight, the size, the bulk, and those are getting better and better every year. So I'm really excited for the direction that these foldables are going. But anyways, that is it from me on the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. Drop a comment, let me know what you think. If you have any questions, let me know. Be sure to subscribe. A lot more content coming soon and on more foldables as well. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up. And as always, thanks for watching.